Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I am your co-host, Devin Klein, the visionary of Burn Bootcamp, and I am here with Morgan Klein, Bryce Morrow, Jen O'Driscoll, and we have an amazing episode for you today on the HQ Crew episode. As you may not know, we do one episode like this every week where we go long form, we go deep into news, into media, into articles. We're talking about falling into fitness. We're talking about our gut health and the science behind protein bars today here on the podcast, as well as a few things happening in the burn world. I know if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, then you can see some of the gear that Jen and I are rocking right now. Let's cut to Bryce and Morgan. Let's see. Ooh, Bryce, what's your thoughts on that sweatshirt right there?
We're rocking the blue over here.
The blue?
Yeah,
Blue?
well, I really love the hoodie. You just informed me prior to this podcast that blue and black might have not been the combo, but I feel there's black in this hoodie, right? So then you got the black hat, and so I felt like I was looking pretty good today. I was feeling it.
It looks good. It looks good, and Jen's going to break us down on that because Jen is working with the retail or on the retail team every single day to provide product for all of Burn Nation to, if you look good, you play good, right? If you look good when you're going to work out, you feel a little bit better about yourself. And I know that I definitely feel that way. So listen, everybody, thank you for being here. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to have a couple remarks like we always do from each one of our hosts because, we want you guys to know how it's going with us, what's going on. It is right now the middle of October 16th. I am officially 37 years old as of yesterday. So if you guys would like to get me a belated birthday present, please go to Apple and make a review for the Burn Bootcamp podcast. That's where we like all of our reviews to happen at. And Morgan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling extra classy in my sweatshirt that I have on. Again, if you can watch this, then you can see that this is like, I don't know. I feel like I should go to the country club with this sweatshirt.
Yeah, I see you're going to be on the pickleball court when it
pickleball,
starts to cool down a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But this is one of my favorite times of the year because I officially get to give Devin a lot of crap for being older than me. He is older for 30 days, and then I turn 37 on November 15th. So, Devin, happy belated birthday, you old man.
Yeah, well, thank you. And, I'll spend this 30 days being 30 days wiser until you're 37, and then we'll resume normal hierarchy of intelligence.
Yeah. But I'm excited to be here. I love fall. I love the time frame that we're in. We're getting ready for not only my birthday, but Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday of the year. So it's good times, and we're getting ready to go to Cabo in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, listen, I can't complain.
Yeah.
How about you, Bryce?
I'm excited for that, too. It's coming up. It's going to be fun, and I also, great time of year. Halloween's coming up. Our kids do not trick or treat anymore, but it's been fun. We have a lot of friends' kids over. Our neighborhood has just house. So it's very efficient. I feel like the parents are like, look, we can walk one street, fill up a pillowcase, and get out of here. So it's a lot of fun to do that, and then always looking forward to the rest of the holidays. And, this is also crunch time for 250 camps as well. You're trying to track throughout the year to say, am I in a spot to really hit this in the remaining months of the year? And so far, I think I still have to be about 4.5 camps per week, and that's the track that I'm on. So if I can just stay on that track, I'm thankful to not put myself in a position where it's like 6.5 camps per week for the rest of the year.
What does that put you at in terms of total camp count?
Well,
right
so
now?
I'm basically doing the math to, I think I'm at 192. And so I'm just trying to make sure that I know how I have to keep tracking to not scramble like in the last month or something like that. So, and full caveat.
So you can get like a day off on Christmas Day.
Yeah. So that's where I'm just really trying to keep up. I've been sick a couple times, went on vacation, but also just made sure that I kept doing Burn on Demand, right? And I just didn't want to fall far behind. And getting into October, I'm happy with where I'm at. I think I'm going to be able to wake up on Christmas, maybe have like a cinnamon roll or something like that and some coffee. And
I like it.
relax. So,
Shayla's cinnamon rolls are some of
Yes.
the best.
That's
ever.
true. They're homemade.
Well, we have Jen O'Driscoll on the podcast today for the first time ever.
Woo.
Welcome,
Jen.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Thanks for having me.
Tell Burn Nation a little bit about yourself, your burn journey. Take some time to kind of lay it out for us.
So I currently, like you said, work on the retail team. I am the fulfillment center manager. I manage the nutrition and activewear that goes into your gyms and help make sure all of that's in stock and ready for you guys. So happy launch day, Burn Nation. We are launching our October inventory. It looks great, feels great.
Soft.
Like Devin said, you look
Soft.
good, you feel good, you work out a little bit harder. I have been with headquarters for 3 years now. It'll be 3 years in December, so right around there. And before that, I used to work in the gym as a BA. Before that, I was a member. So been around for a while, probably 7 years total.
Crazy.
And Bryce, I would love to know how you get 4.5 camps a week. What is this half
You know,
camp?
it's just
That's-
it's
I'm
just
like,
it's
how do
just
we
the
get half
it's the
a
math.
camp?
You know, it means five 1 week, 4 the next week.
Okay.
Right? And it's
Okay.
kind of
I
evens
got
out.
it.
Yeah.
I was like, do we just go for the warm up and then
Well, let's be honest.
We
there's
check
there,
in.
there
we
is
check in? We
there
do
is a lot of
station
quick
and
camps in
head
there, which
out.
technically by the math, if it's 22 and a half minutes, that's a half camp, but it's a full camp on the books.
Yeah,
so
well,
Okay.
that's the way
You're
we
meeting me
designed
where
it.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely are playing by the rules.
Yes, yeah.
For sure.
I love it.
I like it.
Well, and speaking of these clothes, at Burn Bros, if you see this on the shelf, go get it because it's not going to be there long because this is one of the best hoodies we've ever done.
Yeah,
Best hoodies.
Putting my stamp on it. Yep.
it's great.
Right.
Well, thank you for giving your intros, everybody. And listen, we're going to jump into the podcast today. We're going to talk some current events first. We like to inform you on the burn world. So we're going to take a few minutes just to do that, everything that's going on inside of the Burn Bootcamp community. And if you're not part of the Burn Bootcamp community and you don't necessarily understand what we're talking about, just skip over to the next stuff. You're fine. That's why there's a fast forward button. But for most of our audience out there, we make this podcast for you Burn Bootcamp members, and our monthly focus right now is that half kneeling shoulder press. And I see a lot of shoulders out there just needing Band-Aids. You know what I mean? Like they're getting so cut up, they
Oh,
need
God.
Band-Aids.
I was like,
I
wait,
did-
where are we going with this?
I did not know what you meant.
They
But you
need
said, do you know what I mean?
Band-Aids. Woo, you know those lateral delts when you start to do this motion and you're really stopping at 90 degrees and you're pressing as much weight as you can on one side and you're really put your mind into your muscle and those cuts, they just make me so happy.
What would Coach Paul say?
Shoulders like boulders,
Yeah,
baby.
that
Our
we're going to see
college-
some boulders out there.
Our college strength and conditioning coach was from upstate New York, and he just would walk around yelling at our baseball team, "Shoulders like boulders, baby," and that was his motivation for us. So, yeah, I say that to our members sometimes, not in that weird accent that I'm terrible at, but.
So, Devin, tell us a little bit, or tell the audience a little bit, why half kneeling and instead of just standing up? What's the biggest difference there? Why are we challenging them with that as well?
Well, there's two things that we're challenging, right? First of all, we're gonna take away your lower half. We're gonna take away your center of gravity so that you can put more emphasis on the shoulder muscle. Because when you're standing up, what you have is your entire lower half, your distal half of your body is there. You have ankle flexion, you have knee flexion. We're taking all that away, and you still have a little hip flexion in the kneeling, but it's definitely not as much. And if you see a lot of people when they're doing shoulder press, a lot of times if they're standing, they'll lean back and they'll hyperextend their back and their chest will go out and they'll push the weights kind of away from them. So it promotes better form when you're down and you're on one knee. Now you can do both kneeling. But what a half kneeling does is it allows this unilateral motion to where if I've got weight on my right side and I'm holding it up, let's say I'm pressing that half kneeling motion with my right arm, what actually has to happen for my shoulders not to give away and for me not to kind of dip into it and give into that extra load on one side is I've got to compensate with my opposite side. So I've got to have tight oblique on the opposite side. I've got to have tight lat. I've got to have tight pectoral muscles so that my shoulders can stay perpendicular with the ground. So when I'm pressing, all of that activity is happening on the other side as well. And it's just a different way to hit the shoulders. And what we like to do with the monthly focus is throw things at you that we're not necessarily, it's either one of two things. It's either, hey, this is a staple movement and we're always going to focus on this, or, hey, here's a really obscure way to hit kind of the same muscle group. That way we can, and you guys have heard this before, we can quote unquote shock the muscle. We can talk about that and what that means and all the efficacy of that term. But that's essentially what people mean when they say shock the muscles. Introduce a new stimulus to the muscle that it's called forced adaptation, that forces the muscle to adapt to the new stimulus that you're putting onto it. And what we mean by adapt to new stimulus is essentially create new muscle tissue, new muscle fiber. And we're talking about protein bars today and the science behind protein bars. And when you have hypertrophy, which is what we're doing with the half kneeling strength movement, and you have adequate sources of protein flooding your body, creating protein synthesis, now you have all the material for your body to build muscle. And, I could talk about that until I'm blue in the face, but we won't. So that's what the half kneeling shoulder press is about, Morgan. Those two things.
Thanks for explaining.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Is that helpful?
Yeah, that is helpful. And I'm definitely guilty of using my lower half when I'm like failing out. It's much harder on your knees. So, like if you're out there and you were wondering, hopefully that gives you a little bit more clarity. And really it is to isolate those shoulder muscles to grow them until they're boulders. And I'm not going to say it the way that you said it.
Do you want that?
No, I don't want boulders.
Well, let me just clarify that especially my ladies out there who have been conditioned for a very, very long time in the media, that if you touch weights, that you're going to get big and bulky.
Right.
Let me be very, very clear that Paul, our strength and conditioning coach, was talking to a bunch of meathead 22-year-old aspiring professional athletes. We needed shoulders like boulders, but
yeah.
And you have to work out for 12 years intentionally, trying to get that to ever get that. So people out there, our goal at Burn Bootcamp is to create the hybrid athlete, right? We're not trying to make you look like a bodybuilder or make you so lean like a runner. It's that hybrid athlete that's in between where you can run fast, you can do double unders, you can bench press your body weight, you can do pull-ups, you're calisthenically strong, so that you just have functional movement and that you're a beast in the gym.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking to a bunch of guys who wanted that, and I'm not even sure I ever got it. So it's certainly not easy to go make happen, even if that's what you're chasing.
Well, Jen, you can speak on that because obviously you've been a member for 7 years now, and you lift weights very, very hard. Why don't you touch on that from your own personal perspective, because that is something that is still a misrepresentation of strength training especially when it comes to women. What are your thoughts on that, and what's your experience?
Well, I do not want shoulders like boulders. I'm with Morgan on that. But it's true. Before I started Burn, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to lift heavy. I don't want to be bulky. I don't want to have that look. But now, after 7 years, I'm probably lifting heavier than I ever have before. And I don't feel like I look bulky. I'm, quite frankly, probably the leanest I've been. I've been watching what I eat. And I think we're going to talk about foods here later. So for me, eating good, lifting heavier just kind of defines my muscles more. It doesn't necessarily make me larger or bulkier. It just gives me more definition. And I don't think I have shoulders like boulders, so I think I'm doing a good thing.
Those are Burn Bootcamp shoulders.
I think
right
we're
there,
doing a
Jen.
good thing. Yeah,
those are Burn shoulders for sure.
No.
While you're at it, talk about the retail launch. So we touched on it a little bit, and
Yep.
and we have all the stuff on now. Expand upon this a little bit for us.
So that's happening today. Our October launch is going live for all of our franchise partners, and you guys can expect to start seeing that in the gym closer to the end of October. And like you can see, we have grays, burgundies, some navy. Bryce loves that zip up, navy and black together. So lots of fall colors. There's a few more pieces from this collection, but you'll definitely have to wait until it comes to your gym to check that out. So be sure to get there and get this retail.
It's not going to last.
It
It's
isn't.
not
Scoop it
going to
up.
last.
Never does.
It's not
Never
going to
does.
last.
Yep.
No.
So this one is a very important segment for us, you guys. This is Jess Johnson. Okay, she comes from Bluebell, Pennsylvania. This is our Burn story for today. I want you guys to turn up your volume. I want you to listen to Jess's story. It is amazing. This is why we do what we do. Jess Johnson, Bluebell, PA.
Jess, we love having you as a Burn member. Tell us how Burn has changed your life.
Burn has changed my life in so many ways. Even when I see it's a cardio day on the protocol and I don't want to come, I still get my butt here. The trainers are so motivating when they call out your name. They really care about you. I watched a lot of sad things happen, and just to be able to move your body in such a way, you can modify everything. Everyone's so supportive. It's transformed my life since I had a baby. This has been the best postpartum medicine ever.
Oh, Jess, we love you. 2 claps for Jess. 1, 2.
Oh, wow. She was just, she had all the things right there, like going through her mind on how burnt. You could just see it all come out in her face. And she only had a few seconds there to really describe her feelings around her burn journey. But you could see it on her. She was like just rattling off all the things. And that's that's 360, right? That's transformation. What I see on Jess is somebody that, after having a baby, was a little bit lost. Like I know, Morgan, you've felt that way before. Jess clearly felt that way. So many moms and dads do, and burn just gives you that sense of yourself back. And she's just so happy to be in the gym. Like do you see how sweaty she was too? She's sweaty and happy. It's like this is it's a great combo.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you see, Morgan?
I mean, you can just tell she looks forward to life right now, that she's just excited. I love the perspective she brought in that, hey, you see so many things around you, and just to be able to move your body is a really, really great perspective, because there's people out there that can't move their body the way that God intended them to, or, their health hasn't been a priority for them, and maybe they're not able to get to the gym. And there's so many benefits outside of just that physical that come out of exercising. And we talk about that all the time on the podcast. It's community, it's the trainers that are believing in you, it's, the modifications, it's feeling stronger. And so you could just see that she exudes all of that stuff. And that's what we're doing out here. That's what Burn Boot Camp is about, to bring people closer to their potential, and doing it through fitness, and doing it through confidence, and doing it through community. She was
smiling right out of the gate, and I can say that's contagious, because right when she popped up on that screen right there, I just started smiling. So that's the cool thing is, like,
Jess, you have a great smile.
Yeah, that was immediately, I was just happy to hear her story, and it's fun to know that she's experiencing what she is inside those 4 walls. She found her place, she found her people, and I hope she's carrying what she just gave me everywhere she goes throughout the day, because that was cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing Jess just like taking 45 minutes to herself postpartum and saying like that's what she needs. I think that some moms like do struggle with that, like taking time for yourself, and it's great that she's like found somewhere that she can feel comfortable, move her body, move for herself and for her kids. So.
And Bluebell just does such an amazing job providing that community, like all of our Burn Boot Camp gyms. But I constantly hear of stories out of Bluebell. So shout out to the whole Bluebell team, and we see you guys. You guys are working so hard to provide a community for people like Jess, who are just thriving in that environment, and that's what it's all about, happy and sweaty. And so if you'd like to submit your story, we'd love to hear it. podcast@burnbootcamp.com. Submit your story. We have Chelsea, our producer, who's behind the scenes, ready to talk to you, to get your story on the Burn Boot Camp podcast, so you can share happiness like Jess just did with us here today. So we're going to move on to a member question. This one comes from Stacy from Princeton, New Jersey, and she asks a question about the ab wheel. All right, who out there has an arch nemesis named the ab wheel? Because I know so many members, as a trainer, from a trainer perspective, so many members, this is one of the exercises where form is really hard, right? So we're going to talk through a little bit of form, how we should do it. You know what? And I'm going to think out loud for a moment here, Chelsea, while you're listening behind the scenes. What I want to do on this podcast eventually is take questions like this, and we're not going to do it today. We'll talk through it today. But I want to take questions like this and show. I want to show the form and talk about the form. So we're going to do that in the future. But for today, we're going to talk through it. And her question, Stacy from Princeton, New Jersey, is, I struggle with the ab wheel, and I feel like no matter what I do, it always ends up hurting my back. What are some tips to make sure my form is good when using it? Does anybody else have any ailments or concerns, any feelings in their body that when they're using the ab wheel that's like Stacy's, like her lower back hurts, right? And I immediately know what the fix to that is. Morgan, do you, Bryce, or
I do.
Do you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say my lower back too is what bothers me if I am not doing proper form, and I'm just weaker in that entire area. So,
and that's, can you explain a little bit about why you might be weaker in that area?
Thank you to my 3 children.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I used to be able, like, before I had Cameron, before I had our first kid, I remember I used to go like all the way down ab wheels, and like I was really good at them. But then I had a rude awakening. After Cameron, I would say I wasn't as bad, but then I had a C-section for our second. And so and then the third, and I did that all in a span of 5 years. So I'm really still recovering, even though our youngest is 4 years old. I probably haven't done as much as I need to do, but I'm still recovering on my core and just getting the strength back and getting all the way around, like lower back as well, not just what we traditionally think as our core of our six pack or our abs. It's really that whole entire band of our midsection.
Yeah. And Bryce, you mentioned that you have some lower back troubles too, but obviously you have not had babies. So where does your stem from?
I think it's just who I am. I don't know. No,
Age,
I mean,
maybe.
yeah, I think just, getting a little older, I'm sure I have some wear and tear, just probably more imbalances, I would guess. So I even know sometimes during core day, things like I'll start to feel it in different places, like my hips maybe before I'm actually feeling it in my core. And I think what that's telling me is my core probably is a little weak, right? Where some other things are coming in and taking over. And so I know for me, the ab wheel is something that, first of all, good form, because when I know our trainers at Lake Norman tell us it's kind of like the cat cow, right? Like you really get, and Devin, you probably be able to articulate this with words a little bit better, but being October 16th, you probably see this as like Halloween decorations out there,
cat.
like the black cat with like, the arch in its back. But really trying to hold that and not letting kind of going into extension with my back. And then the next thing is just making sure that I can hold that. And a lot of that is range of motion, right? I think doing it right with the range of motion and hitting the right muscles is always my priority. And then as I get stronger, I can go a little bit further, probably like Morgan back in the day, getting all the way out there. So as much as I do want to just get all the way to the end, right, and be like, yep, look at me, look how far out I'm getting. Sometimes that's just, if I'm feeling that in my back, I just have to regroup and say, hey, am I doing this right? And look at my range of motion.
Jen, do you have, is the ab wheel your nemesis as well? Do you have any?
It used to be.
Okay.
It's taken a long time to get. I'm not all the way out, but I'm getting there. But it's taken a long time. It used to be a lot of lower back pain, a lot of like little baby reps just to get started, but we've made a lot of progress.
So I'm gonna just try to do my best to practice what I preach. And what I preach to our trainers is when you're explaining exercises in our setups, in our demonstrations at camp, what I want you to do is take your time to be concise, but also be clear verbally so that people could close their eyes and imagine what you're saying visually if they weren't able to see you. So we can't say like, okay, here's an ab wheel. First, I want you to do this and then that and then this. That's not going to work because it would require me to see you visually. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do right now. And I'll try to break it down. Forgive me for being like slower than I normally should, but I really want people to hear what I'm saying, be able to play this back and say, okay, I can see there's a lot that goes into it, which is why she asks the question, which is why your lower back hurts and your lower back hurts, and which is why most people, when I see this in the gym, have what I would call subpar or less than perfect form, and you can achieve perfect form on this, okay? So the first thing that you want to do is grab your ab wheel and, obviously one handle in each hand, and then go to your knees on the ground and make sure that when you're on your knees that your feet are behind you, directly behind you, and your toes are also dug into the ground. I see so many people lifting their toes up off the ground, suspending their feet and their ankles in the air. That's just less of an anchor point. That's actually a modification up. You have to put if you have any type of pain at all, the first thing that you want to do is put those toes on the ground and actually consciously allocate some weight back toward the toes so that you have maybe like a 90-10 on knee to toe or 80-20 on knee to toe. Just make sure there's some dexterity there. Okay, that's number one. Number two, like Bryce already said, cat your back. What that means is imagine that you can roll the middle of your back, if you are looking at the floor, is being pulled up by a string, and the string is right in the center of your back, and you're going to arch your back as high as you can. Another way to think about that from the opposite side is drive your belly button into your spine and create a magnet from your belly button to your spine as you're doing that, and you should have a nice, what do I call, like a 60-degree arch, if you can think about that, okay? The next thing you're going to do is maintain that arch, okay? You're going to maintain that arch. Then you're going to grab the wheel, put the wheel on the ground. Your shoulders your wrists and the handle of the wheel should be directly perpendicular with the ground. Okay, not parallel, not even perpendicular, a 90-degree angle when you're starting. Okay, you follow me so far? All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to lock that belly button in. All right, we're going to lock that cat in. And what we're going to do is all at the same time bring our hips, our shoulders, and our hands forward. One of the problems that I see is only the hands go forward and the shoulders and the hips stay put. And then you get people kind of reaching out in front of them where their hips sit back on their ankles and their hands reach out in front of them. That's doing nothing, okay? So then you're going to take the minimum amount of range of motion that you need where you know you can get back. This is the other time where people will injure their lower back is they think they need to go all the way out. So when I start, I'm in cat position, my knees are anchored to the ground. I start to roll forward. As I roll forward, my hips are coming along with my shoulders. They're connected. They're together. I only have to roll out 1 inch, and then I go back to center, and then 1 inch, and then back to center, and then 1 inch, and then back to center. And that's your reps. We do not have to go all the way out like Superman, like we might see on Instagram, okay? It only takes 1 inch, okay? This is about time under tension, TOT, making sure that your abdominals, what Morgan's, your internal, your transverse, your internal, obliques, and your rectus abdominis are all solid, tight, never taking a break. They're never relaxing. You relax when you're done with the motion. Then over time, as you can maintain the cat position, as you can maintain hip, shoulder continuity, then you're going to go to 2 inches. And then you're going to go 3 inches. And over time, then you can go all the way, and you can roll all the way out. Is that a good visual explanation of the ab wheels for everybody?
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the last thing that I'll say is if you feel pain, you're doing it wrong. If you're feeling pain, you're doing it wrong. Stop. Come back to the podcast, listen to that again, or ask your trainer, right? Can you help me specifically with this? And stay out of the range of motion that causes pain. That's the biggest thing. Like, don't, if you have lower back pain doing an ab wheel, stop testing whether you have lower back pain on an ab wheel or not. You're going to have it for quite some time. So just stay in the range of motion, stay away from pain, and over time you'll be able to get further and further and further and further out.
That was well done. Do you think you would have hit 10 minutes in the...
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
That's what the podcast is for.
Okay.
So what Bryce is asking for everybody that doesn't know is internally we have our trainers have 10 minutes, right? You get to do the dynamic warm-up. As soon as you come to camp, you're jumping jacks, you're going, you're high-five, a couple warm-up exercises, and then you go into the setup where we keep you guys moving. We have 10 minutes to do that. I could not articulate that on an ab wheel station because that took 5 minutes alone. So that's what this is for, is to break down what's going on inside a camp.
And we have Form University on our app. So lots of different movements that we commonly do at Burn Boot Camp in the gym. So if you're not an on-demand member, check that out. It's always a 7-day trial, and there's a lot. We go much deeper, and obviously you get to watch a video on what good form looks like for several different exercises.
And focus meetings. Yep. Sometimes focus meetings is, hey, what are my goals? What are nutrition, things like that. But it's okay to say, here's what I need. Can we spend 15 minutes talking about this my form on something that I really want to get better at? And it's your time. It's your time to get better at wherever you need to get better.
Jen, what do you want to get better at in the gym right now?
Legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Specifically.
I would just like more definition in my legs.
Okay.
I
What does definition mean?
consistently say I want the lower half to match the top half. Like I feel
like Carrie Underwood at legs.
Yeah, that would be great. Or I don't know if anyone from Texas is listening, but I consistently say Kim, who owns Stone Oak, great legs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
I like that.
shout out to Kim.
Shout out to Kim's legs.
Yes, they're great. So she's goals right there. But yeah, leg day. I try to never miss legs.
Okay. So here's the question. And this, Jen, too, is good because we're kind of doing a real-time focus meeting right now.
Okay.
So many people, say, I want better legs. And then I'm like, define what that means. And they're like, well, just better. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, not missing a workout. Okay, why? Right? So tell me, what does better mean? Define that. Okay, so we did a little bit. That's so you would want to then gain mass.
Yes.
Okay. So you want to gain mass. What's the formula in your perspective to gain mass?
I know I have to eat more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the other? Eat more? Is that specific enough, or eat more?
Eat more protein.
Okay. Do you know how much protein you're eating today?
About 150 grams a day.
Okay, that's
if
pretty
not
good.
more.
That's pretty good. And
Nice.
okay, so I'll take that all day long. You'll gain muscle all day long with 150 grams of protein. When you're in the gym, you said you're not skipping a leg day.
No.
When you're going to leg day, are you showing up for those exercises? Are you lifting to hypertrophy?
I'm there. I'm probably complaining a little bit, but I'm there.
Okay.
I tend to struggle, and this is my biggest thing, like I can pick up the weight, and then sometimes I struggle with like form once I get it up and I can't get past like lower sets of reps. So I think my challenge is, since I know I can pick it up, I'm like, I'm going to go as heavy as possible, but I get stuck right around the 5 to 6 rep range when I know I should probably be going a little bit higher in my reps. Because I mean, they're saying like, let's get 8 to 12, and I'm like, I'm dying at 5 and 6.
Yeah. So you're dying at 5 and 6.
Yes,
Okay. So I'm going to make one adjustment. Why are you dying at 5 and 6?
because it's so heavy.
On your actual legs?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, holding it and yeah, my legs, and then it starts to hurt my lower back.
So I don't want you at 5 and 6 because 5 and 6 is outside of hypertrophy.
Okay.
Okay. 5 and 6 is technically maximal strength phase rep range, in which you are not maximizing for muscular size. Hypertrophy is muscular size. What's the opposite of muscular size that happens to us as we're older? It starts with an A.
Atrophy.
Atrophy. So hypertrophy is the gain of muscle. Atrophy is the loss of muscle. So if you're in a 5 to 6 rep range, you're going to get stronger, but you're not going to maximize your actual muscle mass. So what I want you to do is I want you to lighten up your weight a touch, and I want you to add isometric hold for 12 reps.
Oh.
Okay. So next time you do a front squat, I want an 80-pound weight on your shoulders, and I want you 12 reps. And at the bottom of each rep, you're going to go 1 bad bear, and then you're going to stand up, and then you're going to go down, or 1 Mississippi and stand up, and then you go down. 3 burn boot camp and stand up.
1 bad bear?
Yeah.
Where did
I know,
that come
never
from?
That
heard
came.
that.
That's
Man,
from
I'm
one of my
learning all kinds of things today.
one of my high school strength and conditioning coaches used to say that to us when he wanted us to do iso holds.
Who?
Okay.
Sean Amesbury.
Really? I don't.
Yeah.
He was mine too, but I
Yeah.
don't remember that.
Yeah, for sure.
I must have blocked it out. Maybe he changed it for the ladies. I don't know.
Yeah.
So next time Devin asks, what are your goals? You're going to say, I want Band-Aids all over my quads. That's
yeah.
another thing we
Yeah.
learned
There
today.
you
Cut,
go.
cut up. That's
Yeah.
another thing we learned.
Band-Aids all
Yeah.
over, all over. Yes.
All right. So speaking of food, right? We're
Yeah.
going to go into an article next that the flip side of exercise is the nutrition. So
Yeah.
Bryce, what do we have?
Yeah, we're going to talk about some foods that get a bad reputation, but they probably don't deserve it. And so it's almost like the Nickelback of foods or something like that, or like the Creed of foods.
What
you know,
is our
like,
analogies today?
It's like, you've got some of these bands that just turn into like people kind of make fun of them, and you throw that track on and you're thinking like, man, what's going on here? So I feel like that's the food version that
All right.
we're gonna go through here. So just kicking it off, this article from NBC News is just talking about a couple core foods that really people have it in their heads. This is not good for me to eat, and they break down. Is that the case, right? Actually, what do they bring to your diet? And so the main foods that they talk about are eggs, and then we get into potatoes. We kind of break down, how much does your foods being frozen actually matter? Coffee. And then also carbohydrates, right? So we've got a couple actual foods, and then we've got a couple topics to just talk about with food. But we can start with eggs, because that's an interesting one for me, where I definitely have heard some things about eggs and the cholesterol and things like that, but maybe it's because I was young. It's like, even if I heard it, I was just like, I'm going to smash these eggs. Like, I feel like if I'm eating eggs, this is going to be good for me. But I'd love to break this down a little bit. And Devin, I'm sure you have some thoughts on all these things, because I know you always know the actual science behind it, and you're always sifting through. I know what's being said, but what do I actually know about these foods? So do we want to break down eggs?
Yeah, we can. Just to be clear, I really follow a very simple philosophy that food that the less intervention that you have with the food, the more healthy it is for you. Like if I go out to an organic apple tree in the middle of nowhere that's never been that's going to be the best apple that I can find, right? If I go if I eat like bison, if I'm a red meat eater, for example, well, there's rules and restrictions against the mass farming of bison, so I know that's a more healthy, it's going to tend to be more. So if it comes from the earth, like I'm just going to go back, if it just comes from the earth and there's minimal to no intervention, that's what other countries try to strive for. We try to strive in this country for price point, which then has a whole slew of negative consequences based on the decision axiom of price point being the most important rather than health. And I know Morgan is very passionate about that too, and really tracking what's going on in like the global environment, especially here as we approach an election and all that good stuff. So I read an article it had to be like 2014, and I read two articles back to back. There was one article that said, new studies show that a glass of red wine every day is heart healthy. That was one article. And I sniffed bullshit right away, right? And then the other one that was followed up was there's a new study that shows that eggs are bad. Run away from eggs. Stay away from eggs. And I'm like, so you're going to tell me that my favorite food in the whole world, eggs, that is one of the most natural, long-standing biological processes that we can actually know about, right? The ability to reproduce and to make eggs, and that is less healthy than what grapes have to go through. Heating, cooling, refinery, turning into alcohol, like that. Like you're just gonna tell me that I didn't know anything at the time. I just knew intuitively that that's wrong and that this is right, because there's no way eggs can be bad and wine can be good. And so that was the moment in time when I started being skeptical of all things that weren't peer revised, third party, human randomized control trial type scientific evidence. Kind of like this that we're talking about here today on NBC News. So I look at this article with like through the lens of a grain of salt. Like I don't really believe anything that it says. It's just a thought starter for us to make our own assumptions and our own opinions. But maybe this article does have some some merit to it. We're gonna discover that. I know that you read it in depth, so why don't you break it down for us and we can have a conversation.
Yeah, we can pull it up on the screen. So really with eggs, what they were talking about was that there were previous studies that somewhat demonized them for having high dietary cholesterol, right? So they once believed that this would actually contribute to heart disease. And I believe what has debunked that is they're saying that the dietary cholesterol in those eggs actually affects your blood cholesterol differently, right? So there was a reason people were saying that, and it's not just like someone decided, hey, eggs, I don't like them, chickens scare me, like, they're bad for you, right? Like there was something behind this, but obviously as more studies are done, as people, like you say, people look at the studies that are done and really continue to evolve the science, things change, right? And we understand things differently throughout time. And I think that's what's important, to always do your own research and think for yourself, because think about what we believed in the 1960s is much different than what we believe now, right? But it's pretty crazy how one thing can be out there about eggs maybe a couple years ago, and people see it and they go on the rest of their life thinking that, right? And they're missing out on something that could really be convenient for their diet, could help give them a lot of health benefits. And it looks like really they're saying some things like that are high in saturated fat, fried foods, fatty dairy can help or can increase the blood cholesterol that raises one's risk of health problems, but eggs is not in that category.
I thought the interesting part about this article, really for all the foods that it highlights, is it's not always the food, it's how you prepare it, what you eat it with, that could have harmful effects on your cholesterol, for example. So, the little quote there was, when people think of eggs, they're maybe also eating bacon and they're also eating something fried. And so, of course, like that combination is not what is going to give you the most nutrient benefit meal. Same with potatoes. It's like, okay, potatoes can also be French fries or potato chips, but obviously it goes through a process when you're eating it in that form that is very bad for you. Frozen versus fresh, there's I can't remember the exact stuff it said about this, but there is still nutrition in frozen food. A lot of the time it's how did they freeze it? Like, was it flash frozen, and where did it capture the most nutrients? And then how are you reheating it? And so there's so much more that goes into the studies of this stuff, but the buzzword is eggs are bad. Potatoes are bad, and people hold on to that, and then it just gets carried, like you said, and then we've over time got to debunk that. So, and like also just thinking through eggs, how many different kinds of eggs do you guys see at the grocery store, right? There's white eggs, there's brown eggs, there's free range eggs, there's I don't know what else, guys.
Quail.
Organic eggs,
Quail
you know.
eggs.
There's
Easter eggs.
There's the Cadbury eggs.
Reese's
no.
peanut butter cup eggs.
Right. So like that's also very confusing for the average consumer to be like, well, what are the best eggs? Like what's like white bread, wheat bread, rye bread? Like it's overwhelming. And so obviously like Devin has said, you know, just go back to the best studies and make sure that it's backed by people that don't have a financial gain in the egg industry or in some other industry that people won't be eating eggs. And so I think that's the biggest message that I would talk about. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. But when you can just go back to, hey, what is whole foods and what are the calories that I'm eating and the makeup of the food that I'm eating? How am I preparing it? And how is it making my body feel? And am I seeing good results? That's the most simplest form of a diet to me.
You touch on buzzwords, and that's like eggs are bad. And let's get some of the buzzwords out there from this article. It says just don't fry your potatoes. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that for sure. But then the next header in this article is frozen doesn't always mean less healthy. So if someone remembers that for the next 10 years from this article, hopefully that does some good. But you know, really they do make some points, and it's a little bit of a trade-off. Like even with frozen, they say at the bottom of this is sometimes when I buy fresh produce, it essentially just the joke is it goes to the veggie bin graveyard. It just goes there to die, right? Because you got to keep up with it, you got to eat it, and it's like, look, the trade-off might be if I'm buying frozen vegetables, that's better than having your glass of red wine or whatever the substitutes are, right? Yeah. So obviously vegetables are going to be healthy for you, and I'm sure there is some science behind fresh, frozen, right? But they're still vegetables. They still were grown. That and I thought they did a good job of highlighting that here.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And Devin kind of touched on just like the price of fresh produce, like is not as affordable as it used to be right now. And so if canned or frozen, you know, gives you $2 off for that serving, you know, some people have to do that. So let's not make them feel like they're still making a poor choice. Like you said, they're still eating vegetables, and that is a better side to your protein than fried potatoes are going to be, or going towards going through a fast food restaurant. So I agree. Yeah, I agree.
What about cups of coffee? That's another good one in here. It's just coffee's bad.
Can I say one more thing about eggs? I love eggs.
Big egg guy.
I love eggs. I'm a big egg guy. It is a staple in my diet, and you know, let's just cut through all the crap and clear the clutter for you people out there. Okay, eggs are some of the most highly nutritious foods on the planet. They're considered one of the most healthiest foods on the planet for several reasons. The cholesterol myth is long debunked. I've read all the research. I know it all. You don't need to unless you want to. But there is no bad cholesterol myth that prevails in the scientific community for eggs. It's rich in protein, packed with vitamins and minerals, helps eye health, weight management, good healthy fats that are really the proponent of making you feel satiated. And full. They're loaded with B12, vitamin D. Let's see other things on here. Choline, which is important for brain health. Selenium, an antioxidant. Phosphorus, which supports bone health. So the list goes on and on and on and on. And when you talk about like good fats, it's omega-3 fats. It's omega-3 is obviously very important to support your heart health and things like that. So do not let some journalist out there who has a quota for clicks on their article to be able to coerce you to think that eggs are bad for you. And Bryce articulated and Morgan articulated back and forth there in their little exchange the difference in preparation. And so going back to the article that I read that got me on this train was that wine is good for you. The reason they said wine is good for you is because they said grapes have resveratrol, and resveratrol is an anti-aging property. Okay, but what they failed to disclose or failed to cover in the article that I read was that actually how you prepare the grape is actually is at stake here, right? Like frying your potatoes. If you eat a sweet potato, that's great. That's one of the most healthy foods on the planet. If you put butter and sugar and cinnamon and all the things in it, now you've just rendered that sweet potato a cake.
Delicious.
It's a delicious. It's a cake. Same thing when you when the you know, I don't know the ins and outs of the wine process, but when you take and you manufacture a grape that's growing in a vineyard and you turn that into alcohol, that process is synonymous with frying your potatoes, right? It's going to take a grape that does have resveratrol, that is an anti-aging property, and it's going to completely turn that into something else through chemistry that affects you biochemically in an entirely different way. So it's not even the same thing anymore. Does it make sense?
Does make sense.
So I just wanted to say that because that's on my mind.
Ooh, okay.
Do you have
Eat
coffee?
your
Do you have
eggs.
coffee with your eggs?
Oh yeah.
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 With your whole mess of eggs.
Morgan's conditioned Cam in the morning. First thing, you're so good. She conditioned Cam first thing in the morning to when she wakes up, go make her that coffee.
wow.
And,
Nice.
Cam loves it.
Yeah.
She's a servant
She
by
like
heart.
loves to do it,
she
yeah.
loves it.
And so now I get my coffee just bedside. It's
Yeah.
fabulous.
I used to do that.
But I
That
am
wasn't-
trying to eat something before I drink coffee, so I've got to like figure out how to still make her feel like she's, you know.
Teach her to make bacon. Or
No,
whatever.
I don't
what
think we'll
first
do
thing-
bacon. I think we'll be like
eggs.
bring mom,
Teach her to make eggs.
bring mom a banana or some eggs. I guess I'm not ready for her to be on the stove while I'm not there. But all right, so we've got another member Q&A. Devin, you wanna ask it?
Yes. This comes from Adam at Westchester, Pennsylvania, and he says, "This is kind of fun." He asks, "What is your go-to song right now that gets you hype?"
I don't know. I feel like I'll be honest. I'll start this one off. My like music game has been down for the last several months, and I'll tell you why. I got the new iPhone, and I can't get my new iPhone to sync with my car.
Ooh,
you
that's
know,
tough.
Oh,
and then the new iPhone also has all new cords. So the cord that I had in my car is for the old iPhone. So I can't even just plug in and easily, stream my music. And guys, it would be this easy for me to just buy a new cord, but I've not done it in a couple months. This is like but here's the thing. I kind of like the silence in my car lately. I've got a lot of stimulation in every other arena that I'm in during the day. So during the mornings when I take the kids to school, when I had my phone attached to it, it would be like this constant like request line, like "Mom, play this song, then this song, then this song," and it kind of put me in a bad mood in the morning because they all argued about what song we were going to play. So the last several months, we've been going to school with, not months but weeks, with no music, and I kind of like it. We're having conversations. So all that to say, when you just asked this question, Devin, the only thing that's come to my mind still is our Summit song, "They Not Like Us." And I don't even know if that's the name of the song, but if you put that song on, I'm going to be ready to like work out and like move my shoulders and my hips a little bit. But other than that, I don't have anything.
Yeah.
How about you,
Isn't
Bryce?
it? Well,
and thanks
one,
for bearing with me on my
yeah.
story.
Well, one,
but
I'm mad for you that they just keep changing up
I
the chords.
know,
Like
I
that's
know.
unacceptable. We gotta pick a chord and we gotta stick with it for a bit. No, I'm very similar to you where I feel like I'm typically the odd person out. I'm just not a big music person, and I know a lot of people are gonna be listening like, "What? You're so weird." But if I'm in the car, I'm listening to podcasts or books or things like that. It's just when you're on the go, I'm just trying to look at, hey, if I've got 30 minutes a day, 60 minutes a day in the car, like where can I be productive? And I know that's probably a little nerdy, but I get my music in the gym and on the app when I put it up on my TV, whatever's playing in the background of Burn on Demand. But I will say if I'm ever just trying to get hype, I will put on The Motto by Tiesto. It's just, I think it's like 3 years old still, but there's just certain songs that come along and the beat, it just gets you going, right? I think it gives the people what they want. And that's definitely one of those for me.
all right.
Jen?
yeah. I mean,
that one.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I would have sung it, but I would have sung it so well, I might have actually violated the licensing agreement.
Yeah,
Like you
we're
can't
gonna
do it
get
on
kicked off
on
of
the-
YouTube.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like Morgan. I also enjoy the silence sometimes. I feel like sometimes I'm just a little overstimulated after school drop off, and then on the way to school pickup, I just want a little silence. But definitely, like, even on the way here, I was like, I think I need a little bit of hype music, to get on the podcast. So this may come as a surprise. I like to listen to Dolph in the car or 21 Savage.
Okay.
I don't know Dolph,
I don't
but
know that either.
I know 21
Yeah.
Savage.
So yeah,
I like
gets
it.
Why do you think that comes as a surprise?
I
mean,
probably
I
give
think
off
that's
a little bit more of like country music, Taylor
Oh.
Swifty kind of fan vibe. But,
You're a gangster at heart.
yeah,
True
on the
OG.
inside when my son's not in the car, it's probably best we just ride with the windows up. So
I can just see you like rapping by yourself. Just
oh
throwing
yeah.
up the
There's a lot
signs.
going on.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
lot going on.
I will say that it is fun if you can find some clean playlists, right? Some of those songs that are a little, it's rap.
Yeah.
But I used to drop Charlie off at school when she was in elementary school, and I would turn that the music up like that,
Oh my
just to
gosh.
embarrass her when she opened the door, and she had to look at me and say, "Bryce, you're the adult here."
Yeah.
And so I just would always get a little rise out of her, and that was fun, just playing that kind of music while she was getting out at school. So
It's always fun getting ready for Summit with Bryce's wife. She's actually my boss, and she has a little bit of that hidden in her too. I'm like, Shayla, put on the good music. The kids
sure
aren't
does.
around.
it's not hidden. What do you?
Sure does.
She's from Long Beach.
Oh yeah, I saw Shayla with the window down, rolling around, bumping Doja Cat one day in
Yeah.
your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like, Shayla, you are in a private neighborhood
Yeah, yeah.
here.
Oh, you
scaring
should
the
talk.
children.
You should talk here, Mr.
Me?
Eminem.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh well, my music game's on point. Listen, so this is a point of contention between Morgan and I. Not contention. That's probably a strong word. Just a point of differentiation is that like she needs silence and calm, and she feels really present there. I feel present in chaos, and like I want bullets flying around my head. I want like buildings blowing up. I want like music, 3 different types of music playing. I want problems to solve. Like I want to just be like useful and be busy and be chaotic. So
Overstimulation
Yes.
is Devin's environment.
yes, I had to drown out a lot of things when I was a kid, and I think that was probably part of my psychology growing up is just like to escape like the chaotic environment. It's almost like you had to lean into it because if you didn't lean into it, it wasn't going to change, and you couldn't resist it, and you kind of had to go along with it. So I think that's probably where it stems from, but it served me very, very well over the years because now there's no amount of things that really can overwhelm me because the more that is in front of me, the more excited that I get. And so I think I've got 3 genres of music: hype, meditate, and vibes. These are my genres. Hype is definitely burn beats, like for like workouts, or Morgan's been hearing me listen to my we went to the Hootie and the Blowfish concert with one of my favorite bands of all time, open for them, Collective Soul. So the song "Shine" right now is like probably for the maybe 6th or 7th cycle in my life, like back and on repeat, and got all my kids singing it. And I also am a bigger rap fan, but I notice like when I'm listening to rap music hardcore around them all the time, even though it's clean, it was affecting them in a negative way. Like they were just like,
They don't know what they're saying. They just
Ryan-
listen to it and
Yeah.
then they just say it. Yeah.
You know that song by NBA Youngboy called "Right Foot Creep"?
No.
Got right foot creep, walking with the heater. Like my 4-year-old was walking around
He
going,
still does.
right
Okay.
foot creep, and I'm moving with my heat, and I'm like, nope, we're not moving.
Yeah, we're
with
not
the
doing
heat.
this. Yeah.
We're not. There's no heat. You don't have heat,
Yeah.
but you got Nerf guns. That's
Yeah.
about all you got. That's not heat. That's cold. You
Yeah.
don't have heat. So I kind of just went to more of my rock side when I'm around them. Meditation music is handpan. You guys ever heard the handpan music? Anybody ever heard of handpan? Yes.
I think I've heard it
You-
from you
yeah,
in a
you've heard it.
conversation
We
like
actually
this
have
where
a
I still didn't
handpan
know.
at our
Okay.
house. So if you guys ever
Okay.
want to experience it live, Devin has one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not good at it yet, but I want to get good at it. This is just like, it's just like meditation music.
Oh, that's nice.
Do I hear a rain stick in there?
This one, you'll hear the handpan. There's the handpans.
Okay. Gotcha.
Hear those? It's
Yep.
got some like effects in the background too.
Yeah.
But that's like my meditation music. So if I do need silence, I go there. Like if I do need meditation, I go
I would
there.
put that on to take a nap.
Yeah.
He
I
puts
turn
it
that
on
on
for
in
the
the
sauna.
sauna. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting there, and if I'm trying to like read something or do like clarity break or something like that, and I just want to focus and be present, it's always good vibes.
Then when I'm by myself and I'm playing my alter ego, which if I could do anything else in the world and be great at, I'd probably be a professional rapper. And then my vibe music is Eminem's The Death of Slim Shady, Coupe de Gras, especially the extended version. And there's a new song on there. If anybody knows me, I'm like a huge stan. Like I know all the words to all the albums, to all the songs. I even know Infinite. You don't even know what Infinite is. Okay?
All right,
And
Adam,
do.
I think we've given you a lot to work with here. So, Adam, thanks for the question.
Okay, that's Morgan's way of moving us on. We're going to go to segment number 6, Behind the Protein Bar, everybody. Let's talk about protein. We started this conversation a little bit, talking about hypertrophy. Not all protein bars are created equal. Obviously, we care much about this because our whole goal at Burn Nutrition and Burn Bootcamp is to provide the hypertrophy side at Burn Bootcamp, like we were talking about with Jen, and then the nutrition side with Burn Nutrition is to give you opportunity to create, to build your muscle, to build your body, and we do so through hypertrophy and protein. And so Burn Nutrition's mission is to get at least 100 grams of protein in every human being's body, especially our Burn Bootcamp members who are working out hard and who need it the most to recover from those hardcore workouts. It is the number one recovery ingredient, more so than lengthening and recovery and foam rolling and resting and all that good stuff. It's protein. We've got to have protein in our body in an efficient amount. So we're going to talk about that. And Morgan, I'll kick it over to you to get, or Bryce rather, to get the conversation started about the science behind protein.
Yeah, well, actually, I think Morgan's probably a great person to talk about this because I've seen her with a hairnet on recently making the protein bar. So I know you've learned a lot.
Do we have a hairnet picture on the internet of Morgan anywhere?
Probably somewhere we can.
Is there one on your Instagram anywhere?
You know what? I don't know actually,
All right.
but
I don't think so. Then she would know.
yeah, I think
There's
I might have
videos.
done.
Yeah.
I definitely did a video with Matt.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we produce 3 different flavors of protein bars, and so we definitely put a lot of work in how we were going to create that, what the macros are going to look like, what's important to us, because not all protein bars are created equal, like Devin might have mentioned here. But for us, the focus was high protein, low sugar content, clean ingredients, quality ingredients, and then making sure that it's not too high in calories. And so, 100 grams of protein is our goal to help you do that. Of course, we always encourage whole food first. Where can you get it through, your eggs or your protein or your protein sources? But the reality is a lot of us need some quick options on the go. So protein bars can be one of them. And yeah, our Matt Morris and I, our VP of fitness, he also leads our nutrition products. We went direct to the manufacturer and we've seen this stuff happen. We've seen the ingredients that go into it. We see how it's produced, and it's a great process. I've documented it and shared a little bit on my Instagram. So you as the consumer can feel good about what you're putting into your body. But, there's a lot of things out there. There's some that are supposed to be meal replacements. There's some that are snacks. There's some that are just not good for you, though. If you look at the sugar content in them, or you're looking at the protein's not very high, they're actually not a protein bar. They're maybe a glorified candy bar. And that's really where you just have to balance what you're putting in your body and making sure that it's balanced with some good whole foods as well.
Yeah, I know we have a blog article on the Burn Bootcamp blog that just talks about how to get protein on the go, and I know this has been a huge tool for our members to just prepare, have this on the go, and get protein. And like you said, not as a substitute, but we also know when you are on the go, it is hard to sit down and eat a 5-course meal in your SUV while you're in silence. So, that's what's been fantastic about this. And then also, what you hear a lot about from our members is the people who have a sweet tooth, and they're like, oh, after dinner, I need something. And a lot, you kind of hear some creativity around how people consume these bars, I heat it up for 30 seconds, and I put a little bit of almond butter, a little extra almond butter on it, right? And of course, we just said it's not always a meal replacement, but I would certainly think that most nutritionists would say that that's probably better than crushing a brownie or something after dinner. So it's been fun to hear all the different strategies people have taken up with our burn bars.
Yeah.
It's,
so go ahead. Jen.
It's great with if you use a Ninja Creamy.
You got it, huh?
Yeah. So you can use it as a mix-in in your creamy, and it's real good.
Yeah.
What else, Jen? So you have, you've been working out for 7 years, and I know that your protein game is pretty good. So what else do you do?
Typically, I am a pretty strict eater, and I'm pretty bland. I actually won a food award from Burn. Some of you guys might not know. At Christmas, we do a Christmas party, and the office voted, and I won like best lunch award, which was shocking
Nice.
to me because I eat chicken, beef, or fish every single day with rice or sweet potatoes. Like my lunch does not differ. It really hasn't differed probably for the last like year and a half. But I do love a after dinner treat. So that is
So you got a creamy?
so I have
Yeah.
a creamy. I also eat a lot of Greek yogurt, and then I use like half a Burn bar and put it on top and mix it in.
Ooh, I
And
haven't tried that yet.
yeah,
Gotta try
so
that.
that's good. I do tend to heat it up for a few seconds in the microwave first to make it a
Yeah.
little bit softer and mix it in. But yeah, so I'll usually just mix in Ninja Creamy with a, like I use our Afterburn, a little bit of milk, and then I even use a sugar-free pudding packet. I
I've
put
seen
that in
that,
there
yes.
and then mix in an Afterburn bar.
So this creamy is basically turning these bars into like a protein-packed milkshake.
Oh, yeah.
That's what a
Yeah.
creamy is.
Yeah.
It's
Little
just blending it
McFlurry
down.
there.
Is it-
yeah,
okay.
it's like a
Yeah.
McFlurry,
Yeah.
and it's great.
A little burn
Yeah.
flurry.
Never
Let's
thought
call
of
it that.
I'm so
Yeah.
thankful for the people like you out there that just have the vision. you know?
that buy the things.
Will you
that-
do it, Bryce? Will you actually
no,
execute that?
No,
No.
but I'll live through you. Do you tell me more about how it tastes later?
I'll bring you some.
Yeah,
I'll bring
cool.
you some,
Thanks.
and then you'll want to buy one.
Awesome.
So quickly, a key piece of protein and talking about protein bars is Morgan mentioned this too, right? Like protein bars and shakes are supplements for whole foods. And I just wanted to quickly give you guys the top 5 sources of protein based on bioavailability. Okay, so bioavailability is basically saying how well does your body absorb this protein, and this might be counterintuitive for a lot of people given the philosophy that whole foods first and then supplements fill in. But bioavailability doesn't consider that. All it considers is your body's ability to then absorb the protein contents. And there's bioavailability ratings. So I don't know much about that. I just know that there are bioavailability ratings, and so you're able to really rank order foods, both supplements and whole foods. And so I'll just read the top 5 of them. Number 1, and this has been studied, especially more recently, is whey protein. It is the most bioavailable form of protein, commonly used in the protein shakes, protein bars for quick absorption and complete amino acid content. Number 2, we've already talked about this one, eggs. Eggs are the benchmark for high quality protein, and they have all the amino acid profile, and they're highly, highly digestible. Number 3, this is saying milk, but not milk. It's saying the casein protein that is inside of milk. Okay, so casein protein is often used in bars and shakes as well. And what the casein does, it provides a slower release of the amino acid, which is why people will often take a casein protein in the evening, because now you're feeding your body a slower release profile while you're sleeping throughout the night. And the thought is that the more you're feeding and the slower your cadence, the more you're going to be actively building your muscle. And then protein bars is number 4 at a bioavailability rating. And whether it's whey or casein, it depends a little bit, right? This is a very generic listing. But then number 5 is beef, and number 6 is fish, and I keep going. Number 7 is chicken and turkey. Number 8, soy. Number 9 is other dairy. Number 10 is pea protein. Number 11 on this list is rice protein. And this is a trusted list for me. So it's alignment with a lot of the things that I read, although, could be 2, 3, 5. This is generally speaking good, and pretty universally, whey protein is the highest bioavailability rate. So this is why people say consume your protein shake right after your workout, because it's when you're most susceptible. They call it the anabolic window. There's a little bit of evidence for that. It's not so significant, but it is incrementally, if you're doing all of the things right, it's incrementally better to consume that 30 to 40 grams of bioavailable protein, whey protein, right after your workout. It's just a couple points better than maybe doing it later that evening.
Yeah.
And so just to remind everybody, all of our protein is in the bars is whey. So we have the whey protein in the protein bars, and then we have both whey and plant on our shelves at locations or on our e-com site. Bryce, did you want to?
Well, I was just going to say I might have had a solution to your problem, and also take a little bit of what you do is teach Cam to make the coffee, pour it into the creamy, blend it up with the bar. Now you got 2 for 1. You got your food, you got your caffeine, you're ready to rock. So
I don't have
just
a creamy,
you're
so
welcome.
I gotta work on that.
So you guys go ahead and get the Afterburn bars at your local gym, okay? Or you can get these on our online store. Remember, when you order online, you're also supporting your local gym, okay? So we have 3 flavors, cookies and cream, triple chocolate, and everyone's favorite, peanut butter cup. Delicious, protein-packed, high fiber, and will be a bioavailable source of protein that you can use to supplement your diet. We want every member, every human, to get 100 grams of protein just as a baseline or more. And we'll continue working on that with you all and providing products to help you achieve that goal to make your life a little bit easier, all right? And we got a few more segments here, everybody. We are really talking about this next segment is best ways to get protein in. So we talked a lot about this. So this can go very, very quickly. But let's just answer Maya from Oxford, Mississippi's question. And if you'd like to ask a question, podcast@burnbootcamp.com. As always, we have Chelsea behind the scenes waiting for your questions. We're going to bring those up on the podcast. If you'd like to write them or submit a video, that's your choice. But Maya asks, or Maya, but I believe it's Maya, what are the best ways to get enough protein, especially with a busy lifestyle? So let's just hit on that one more time. Like, quick hitter. We'll start with Morgan. We'll work back this way. What are your just tips that we haven't talked about? Quick hitter tips to get some protein in a busy day so you can get 100 grams or more.
Well, I think a tip that we haven't talked about, which we have on the podcast, but if you don't plan, you will not get the 100 grams in. So we can sit here and talk about great foods and great sources of protein all day long, but then where does the rubber meet the road? And that, to me, is in the planning process. So however you're meal prepping, what are you planning your meals, and making sure that you're getting protein in every single meal. Those are the ways that I do it. I find that if I don't put protein in every meal and I don't plan my meals out, then I'm not going to hit that 100 grams. So I'm just going to, that's my 2 tips.
Yeah.
Every meal and prep.
Yeah, I'm not the best person to ask, but I will say, planning comes down even to me for use your calendar. So for me, sometimes it's literally lunch, because I will go the whole day and you put yourself on the go unless you plan to not be on the go, right? So you can say, how do I get protein on the go? But there's also the possibility to say, I'm gonna go heat my lunch up and I'm gonna eat my lunch. And so for me, that's typically when I'm getting the most protein in, is where I just plan my day around saying, hey, I know I'm gonna be better when I'm getting food into my body and protein into my body.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say prepping is the easiest way to stay on top and protein every meal. But I also like to keep bars in my car, and then I also keep our single serve packets in my car too. So if I know I can't stop or I'm on the go, I always have a shaker bottle and I just put my single serve packet in there and drink it up as a quick snack.
We're very busy people, Morgan and I. We have a very demanding schedule, and a lot of times the products that we envision and create for Burn Nation are actually products that solve problems that we have too. And so as I'm traveling, the only place I could really go to get my protein was Chipotle, and I got so sick of Chipotle.
That's not a thing, dude. Nobody gets sick of Chipotle.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
I don't get sick of it.
To the point
either.
where I don't even get the bowls. I'm just screw it. Give me a burrito.
Just mix it up.
It's just, I got to mix something up. Yeah. And so, thus, or hence the invention of the Burn Bootcamp meals, right? So I'm 2 or 3 meals a day. And I'm happy to pay the $12 to $12.50 for those meals, because I'm out in the world, and to stop anywhere else and to get a decent lunch, it's the same price. So I'm getting my protein way up. I'm keeping shaker bottles full of dry protein powder with me, and other shakers to mix it in. And then Morgan and I are just protein hunting when we're on the move. So Burn Bootcamp meals and nutrition as a whole has 3 parts to it. It's Burn meals, it's the supplements, and it's the smoothie bars that are quickly developing inside of the Burn Bootcamp gyms. And all 3 of those entities are geared to help you get more protein in, both from a whole foods perspective and also a supplement perspective. So, yeah, three Burn Bootcamp meals for me a day. I'll start my day with a double scoop of chocolate Afterburn whey. A double scoop, that's going to be 46 grams of protein, and I'm getting about 200 grams of protein in a day.
Nice.
Right? Hopefully that gives you a little inspo, Maya. Thanks for your question. We've got 2 segments here left. We're going to talk a little bit about gut health, all right? I know this is a big topic right now. There's an article from Orlando Health that Bryce is going to break down here in a moment. Gut health, why it matters. According to the National Institutes of Health, digestive diseases affect 60 million to 70 million Americans. Okay, that's out of about 380 or 70 million Americans. So quite
355 million.
355. Okay, quite a significant portion is affected by gut health here. So gut-related issues go deeper than GI tract. It may show up as chronic pain, mental health issues, migraines, inflammation, etc. So we're going to talk about how to improve gut health, eating fruits and vegetables, eating whole grains, taking supplements. Bryce, break down this article and let's just give some 2 cents here for the people on gut health.
Yeah, let's throw this article up on the screen from Orlando Health, and Devin already touched on it. Really, let's start with what does gut health mean, and they break down that it's really just the whole digestive tract, right? So we're going from the gut covers anything with food intake from top to bottom, right? So it's this from the time it enters your mouth to the time that it comes out of your body, right? That's your gut, right? That's part of your gut and your gut health. And what's interesting here is that a lot of people probably think, oh man, when you're thinking of gut health, like I've got tummy problems, like you're thinking like, oh, my stomach's not feeling great. But what they outline here as we scroll down in the article, it's really linked to a lot of overall well-being, right? Devin mentioned chronic pain, mental health issues, weight loss, migraines, diabetes, insomnia, inflation, fatigue. There's just
inflammation, not inflation.
Did I say inflation?
I know inflation is a buzzword right now.
Inflammation.
It's top of mind.
Yeah, well, maybe, if everyone had great gut health, maybe we'd be making great decisions.
These damn gas prices are causing all of our gut bacteria to go wild.
Inflammation and fatigue. So then it's really, it's good to see that, right? Because looking at that and saying, oh man, have I had some chronic pain or, migraines or inflammation? It just really makes me think about gut health a little bit differently. And then as we get down into how to improve gut health, it makes me take this a little bit more seriously and say, hey, even if I don't have problems in any of those areas, is there any opportunity for me to feel better, right? When it comes to chronic pain or even just mental health. They say your gut is your second brain. I don't know exactly how that works. Devin will probably pull a Bill Nye the Fitness Guy thing on us and talk. There's like the nerve, I think, like the valgus nerve or something runs from your gut up to your brain.
And 90% of our serotonin is actually produced in the gut.
Yeah.
So that happy hormone is produced in the gut. So if your gut is not balanced, then they call it like the gut-brain axis. And that can cause a lot of depression, anxiety, and mental health disorders.
Yeah. So I think a lot of these things that are linked to gut health is just great awareness for a lot of people to have, because you may be looking at some of these things and trying to figure out, okay, what do I do? How do I improve this? And seeing this just can help you get a good idea of where you might be able to start. And it does get into some of the stuff Devin touched on how to improve gut health. And it really eat a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, right? Have a good diet, including seeds, nuts. Talks about eating whole grains, and then it talks about eating both prebiotic and probiotic foods, and then obviously there are some great supplements out there that they touch on that, outside of these things that just like our diet that we talk about, that takes first priority, but then there's also the ability to supplement with some good products that will help your gut health.
Yeah. I think too, for me, when we talk about gut health, because it has been something that I've been more and more interested in over the last probably 5 or 6 years. You started hearing a lot more about gut health, and it's just grown from there. But I always wonder too, like, what is the true root problem of so many Americans, like so many more Americans having gut issues? And to me, I think there's just been something in our food, in our environment, that is causing such a breakdown in our guts. And it's, I don't know if we're asking that question enough, and versus like, oh, just how do you fix it now, and how do you put Band-Aids on it sometimes. But I think we also need to be asking ourselves, why is this a rise in so many Americans? Obviously we know mental health has also been on the rise for so many people, and starting with the gut. So, again, we can talk about what foods you should be eating and things that you can be doing. But I think the bigger question that I still feel like is unanswered and out there in a lot of studies is why? Why are people having so many? I mean, I have gut issues. I definitely am somebody that can raise my hand and say that some of the symptoms on that list I've dealt with and that I'm still dealing with. And I'm trying to learn, why does my stomach hurt after I eat food sometimes? And why am I bloated? And why do I have digestive issues? Especially for somebody who's 36 years old and
For another month.
exercises and eats, fairly healthy and puts good things in my body and cares, why am I still producing gut issues? So that's just my 2 cents on this whole topic of gut health.
Jen, you have anything?
I mean, I'm big on taking, probiotic supplements. I take them every morning. I just make sure. But either way, like I'm kind of with Morgan. Some of you may not know my son has autism, so I changed his diet and really like cut out a lot of processed foods and saw a lot of like great benefits from that. So we're big on gut health at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 years ago, this was kind of like pseudoscience, right? Like it was just breaking into the mainstream. There wasn't a lot of people talking about it. Now there's a whole industry. It's no longer pseudoscience. It is the second brain, the ENS system. And, there's hundreds of millions of neurons, maybe 100 million neurons or so that make up this system. And it does have this sense of acting independently or in conjunction with the brain. And I think it is really important. And the problem that we're in America is, like I said earlier, the axiom for all decision making is profit motive, right? And it's not health. And unless that changes, we're going to continue to live in an environment where no matter where you turn, like no matter what you're doing, you're going to be exposed to some level of contamination, let's say. Now, is it realistic to think that there's going to be a world with no contamination? Well, there seems to be a whole movement of people that try to rid the world of contamination. But like, let's be honest, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. Like, you're not going to be able to walk outside and not breathe the air, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have contamination from the air at a minimum. So the goal is to say, how do we moderate the contamination that we're exposed to, and who is responsible for that, right? And right now, nobody wants to take the blame from a leadership perspective on why our food is in the position that it is. I think RFK is doing a lot of that, and hopefully, in the new regimes in America moving forward, since we lead the world in basically all categories. Like whatever we do is we're the inspiration
but
for other
countries. For food, there's some other countries that are banning ingredients and banning, like, they're not allowing it. And actually, I think the fight right now is for the U.S. to follow that suit.
I guess so. What I mean is that when the U.S. puts it as a issue on the world debate stage, then it's an issue everywhere, right? Like right now, you don't universally see every country all doing what like Europe does or Italy does with the pasta. There's something about they don't use enriched flour. It's illegal to use enriched flour. They use, I think it's called, Google this. What is the European, I think it's like mill flour or something. What is the...
Their FDA laws in Europe are definitely a lot better for you.
Yeah.
We're just waiting on America.
Well, even like...
I'm just saying, like, once the United States puts it on the world stage as an issue and we go to solve it, the whole world now, like, follows that suit.
Yeah.
It's called... Shoot, I don't know. I'll find it in a minute.
It doesn't matter. I see what you're saying. Like and that's my point is, and I agree, if the U.S. actually was the leader in making sure all of our food was healthy, then yes, everybody else is likely going to follow that. But we still have opportunity in the U.S., which is a big frustration for me. And I've shared this before with the FDA and just some groups in the U.S. that aren't putting people first. They're putting profit first. The Food Babe is getting a lot of traction right now because she's calling out companies like Kellogg's to say, hey, the Fruit Loops that you make in the U.S. are not the same Fruit Loops that you make for, Europe. And you're not putting these ingredients over there because it's banned, because they have said, no, we're not putting artificial dyes in food for kids. Now, why can't the U.S. follow that? If they know the formula and they know how to produce it over there and it's healthier, they're clearly... U.S. is allowing profit to be the first priority for these companies. That's my biggest frustration, and that's what makes me wonder, why is gut health so much on the rise here in the U.S.?
And when we stop doing that, that's when the rest of the world will follow
And yes, when we
suit.
stop doing that, I agree. No one's
going to follow Europe.
Yeah, and that's...
Just be honest.
Yeah, well, I wish the U.S. would in some regards, right?
too.
Like, because then, yes, once our stage is like the pinnacle, then yeah, people are going to follow that, and companies are too. So
it's good conversation, but something that you guys all should just take an audit of. What are the foods that you're putting into your body? Sometimes we can get in this world where we're busy, we're on the go all the time. And I've seen this with many, many, many members. I've even experienced it myself when you're pseudo-healthy. You're pretending that you're being healthy. And although if you actually did the real-time audit and you went back and you could actually track what you just ate over the last 2 weeks, you were only healthy 30 to 40% of the time. You went to McDonald's twice or Chick-fil-A twice. There was an ice cream day in there. You had Pizza Hut one night because there was pizza. But we really need to be, there's part of this too that, yes, the government, and yes, big money and corporate profit and marketing and Monsanto and all that stuff, right? They're not putting the food in your mouth, right? They're not putting the food in your mouth. There are healthier choices. There are choices that you can make as an individual where you say, no, I'm educated. I am not going to go to McDonald's. I am not going to order from Pizza Hut. I am not going to put, Nerds candy in my mouth by the bag full. I'm not going to smash Doritos, as a treat. There is a level of personal responsibility that I don't want to get lost because we can control that to a certain extent, right? Mm-hmm. Like we can get marketed to, but Kellogg's is not saying you eat these Fruit Loops or you're going to jail. Like they are not holding you ransom. You're allowing yourself or your belief systems to hold you ransom. And I've been there before with my own children. So I'm not pointing the blame. I'm not playing hero. I have been in the grocery store when we're going by the Lucky Charms, and all 3 of my kids are like going wild because the Lucky Charm guy, right, is like, there's a big sign that says, "Hey kids, eat me," right? And I have to be the bad guy, and I have to say no to that, and then I have to watch my kids cry for 15 minutes through the rest of, and we had to do that 4 or 5 times before they finally were conditioned that when Dad says no, we say no.
We're eating eggs.
We're eating eggs. And so it's a big conversation. We're going to continue to have it. I know Morgan is very passionate about it. We're all very passionate about food here at Burn Boot Camp and Burn Nutrition, and we will continue to do so. And, I think that's a real good place to stop today because it leaves us with some conversation to have in the future just about gut health and food and our responsibility in the whole picture, our country's responsibility, and what we can do about all of that. Any last comments on that, y'all?
I will say I did follow England when I came back and started saying lovely, and I would fancy that. So it's just one instance.
So they're
where
a leader for you.
Yeah, they were leading me there. Yeah.
Okay. Fancy. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, make sure you're subscribing to our channel so you never miss an episode. Thank you, Bryce and Jen, for being here today. Great conversations. Don't forget, if you want to check out our protein bars, we have them online, so you can go check them out right now or in our location. So if you're a member at Burn Boot Camp, you have them right there on the shelf that you can grab after a sweaty camp. And if you want to look good, check out our retail line that we're all wearing and that are also in gym now. So thanks again, guys. We're going to end like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.